Hi, I'm Kerry Barrett. I'm the owner-founder of Kerry Barrett Incorporated, and you are listening to the S.M.E's podcast.
You are now listening to the next great small business podcast. Welcome to the S.M.E Stories podcast, where it is all about small businesses in Canada. And here's your host, Ken Alfred.
Let's talk about the industry itself. So what is your current opinion on, I guess, I don't know how you call it, between the either the online or the video coaching space, and where do you think it's going to go?
Boy, I think it's going to grow. I mean, the course creation world right now is approaching, I think, $400 billion a year annually and globally, not just in the United States, certainly. It's a huge, huge business. I do think the methods and the systems that worked, whatever, even 4 or 5 years ago to sell online programs don't work as well as they used to. It depends a little bit on your price point and who your audience is, but I see them continuing to grow. What I also see happening is there are fewer people who are interested in go at your own pace programs. They want some guidance. So for example, I work with clients right now one-on-one. I also have, the content that I use to teach them in between our calls, I also provide as just a digital course, opportunity. What I have found though, is that a lot of people in years past have purchased digital courses or, go at your own pace programs, and I have a graveyard of them in my own computer, as a matter of fact, and they don't follow through. Oh yeah.
Trying to flip houses with no money down. That's one of the things. I had one of those courses. I downloaded it.
There you go.
I haven't watched it. So
you haven't watched it. 100%. Yeah. A lot of people don't. And I think that people are catching on to the fact that unless they have somebody who's holding them accountable for doing so, they have a tendency to go collect digital dust.
Yes.
And so, I suspect that we will see that trend continue. I also expect that we'll be looking at a lot of AI generated program and course content as well, and that people will be, not to delve into a conversation about AI, I'm not an AI expert. I barely use it in my own business, even in ways that could save me time, but I expect that there will be an element where people will be truly looking for authenticity, to use a word that's been thrown around a lot over the past couple of years, but will become increasingly important.
Well, yeah, and just a side note here. So, we'll not talk about too much, but what's really freaky is one of the softwares that I use to edit my podcasts. They're now doing video editing as well. So now you can see that, you can look at me right now, and you can see that I'm looking at you, right? Okay. Okay. Now, if I look, let's say I look at a different screen like this. Let's say I'm looking at a question I'm going to ask you, and I look back up. You can kind of see my eyes move, right? You say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
This software kind of freaked me out because they had this little feature that has a thing where they can, to avoid that, what you said, when you're not turning your head, if you're just turning your eyes slightly, because let's say you want to look down here, look up there, it has a way to, while the video is playing and you're editing, you can select this feature and it'll look like I'm staring at you the entire time.
Yeah. Do you use Descript?
Yeah, love that thing.
Yep, I know that feature.
It's
yeah,
right, because sometimes
it's crazy.
If you look at it, you're just like, tell me more, Kerry. Right? And then you're just like,
well, I remember I was probably about 3 or 4 years ago that when video started when Instagram's made Reels their primary push, et cetera, TikTok was coming on the scene and video began to blow up. There was that issue of people wanting to look off camera and read a script versus looking at the screen. And there were a couple of platforms that were used specifically in Instagram that had that eye correction feature. And but it wasn't great. It was a little bit off. The improvements that they have made over the past couple of years, you're right, is absolutely freaky. And you can even see it on LinkedIn. And you'll see a lot of the creators there that are talking about AI and how, here's my format for using whatever, ChatGPT or Taplio or whatever other number of software programs there are. They'll create entire avatars.
Yeah.
You can't tell the difference between that person talking and like actually that person talking and their AI avatar reading the same script and delivering it in almost the same way. There's a few subtle differences. Generally speaking, when somebody is actually there and communicating as a human, there'll be a couple of
Yeah.
flubs or a couple of they'll stumble over a
You really gotta
word
look
and
for it
they'll
though, right? Right, Carrie? Like you have to
right.
really
You do have to look for
if
it.
if we're
Yeah.
just like if we're just scrolling through our feeds and
You
we
won't see it.
yeah, we're not gonna notice it because we're not thinking
Nope.
about, oh, let me fact check. Let me look. Does that person
Yep.
have a sixth finger?
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Right?
That person looks like they have 75 teeth.
I know. That can't be right.
Yeah.
So, no, it's absolutely something you gotta be very careful
Yeah.
of, right? And,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, loved the script, but at that time, a few years ago, when they had that eye feature, that kinda freaked me out a little bit, so
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
but anyways,
The robots are taking over.
I know. Weird thing. All right, back to this here. So what are some details when you tell people about your business that they might have a preconceived notion on?
Oh, that's a great question. I think for some, when I talk about the PR offer, and I actually have a post coming up on LinkedIn about this in the not too distant future, they automatically think crisis communications or why would I need publicity? And what they don't understand is that media, again, I'm not necessarily talking about it doesn't always have to be TV.
To be anything.
It could be podcasts. We understand podcasts, most of us anyway. It could also be, you know, articles or guest posts in Forbes or Entrepreneur or Inc. or whatever. It is a great way to grow your visibility, your authority, your credibility in front of a new audience at scale. Meaning you do one guest post on Forbes and you could have 100,000 people see it easily, quickly as well. But they don't think of PR or publicity in terms of as a way to grow their business. They think about PR in terms of crisis communications or navigating a delicate situation, in the media. Whereas for a small business owner, it's all about, again, growing those three things: visibility, credibility, and authority at scale in front of an entirely new audience, an audience that you're not going to reach, on LinkedIn necessarily or on, YouTube or wherever it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, all right, now we talked a little bit about you talked about some of your failures that you started when you're doing this business. How about your business success so far?
My business success. I think one of the I finally have my offer and my audience nailed down. And that sounds so crazy to say because I'm not brand new at this. I had an expectation of things moving very quickly, much like the media world that I came from moved, like you send an email, you get a response in like a couple of minutes. It's just how it works. It's instantaneous almost. So I grew very frustrated in the beginning of my business. I didn't understand why things didn't move at the same pace.
Right.
In terms of success, I would say one of the biggest, and this is sort of the business is doing good. It's growing. Like I said, I have this new offer that I'm very bullish about, and it's been quite successful. I would say one of the coolest things, though, in terms of success, is really what's going on with me internally. So I thought I had pretty tough skin. I thought I was very resilient. I thought that I understood rejection, et cetera, from my time in the news world. Right, 20 years. Ended up in New York City. It's extremely competitive. It's very public. I don't just mean public within the industry. I mean, people on the street know who you are. I thought that I had really developed a deep sense of self-awareness and understanding from the trials and tribulations that go along with an industry like that. I realized I hadn't. And my business, especially when I first started, was very much a reflection of what was going on inside. And there was a lot of, ultimately like entrepreneurial trauma, for lack of a better word, things that I went through as a business owner that nothing in life could have really prepared me for. And my business was a reflection, again, of what I was like on the inside. Now I have developed, I know I've developed a stronger sense of self. I've developed skills in terms of putting myself out there that I, again, thought I had mastered as somebody who was on camera for 20 years. And I've grown as a person in more ways than I could have possibly imagined, along with what I had always hoped would be the true measure of success in my business, which is money, and also, creating my own schedule. So those two things were not necessarily given, but they were my, goals from the outset. This other part of my self development and growth was a nice surprise.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about tips in the pro segment here. This is where we ask more specific questions about your particular business and what the listeners, if they want to get into it or not, or just curious.
Yeah.
So currently, question number one is, what is the biggest mistake most of your clients are making right now?
Oh gosh, the biggest mistake most of my clients are making right now is, for my small business owner clients, before they come to me, is they don't recognize the power of the media. They have no concept of how to use it to grow. And it's so vastly underutilized by small business owners. And a lot of them think they have to have some grand founder story, or they already have to be the experts, the known experts in their industry to get featured. And they don't need to be. In fact, it's through the media features that they become the experts, and they grow their brand. So they have the process backwards, and they don't understand how it applies to them. And then in terms of speaking on camera, when I'm talking about my founder, CEO, executive type clients, the biggest mistake that they're making is that there's generally a lot of mind shift and mindset issues that they're not aware of, and they get on camera and they treat video as if it is a virtual white paper. And when I say mindset, it's because they are so accustomed to delivering facts and presentations and information in a very formulaic sort of way, because that's what we've come to expect. That's not where video shines. You'll never get anywhere with video presence. If you're creating content for social media, delivering it in that way. Video is not a virtual white paper, and it takes a big mindset shift for a lot of people to understand that.
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing is that when I have guests and experts like yourself on the show, some of them they've never done any kind of media at all, right? And so when I try to calm their mind down that this is not a gotcha kind. First off, I'm not a journalist, okay? Secondly, I'm not in the gotcha kind of thing. I'm like, that's not my thing. Honestly, I used to be. The way I wanted my show to be was basically I would like to say a Joe Rogan-ish thing without any conspiracy theories, right? For some people that
Right.
if we were just really chatting at a Starbucks for an hour, that's all I want to do. And there's questions. It's all about the story, but also some follow-up questions. And then that's how I basically want to approach it. Because some people, they've never done it, or the only media they've done are the 2 to 5 minutes. So they got to hit point. And then when I actually ask them to explain it and to unbox it, they're just like, can I read it? I said, yeah. Why? Because they're so scared of I have to hit these points or else. I'm like, no, just honestly, coffee shop experience. That's all we're talking here. I think a lot of people like some of those longer form shows, right? Unless the show is
absolutely
only there for 5 minutes, and totally understandable. But when you're coming onto my show or anything like that, and I think your show is also really great too. There, Kerry, you can plug your show as well. Is that we give you the information, but we try to do it in a way that's very relaxing. You're not we're not finger pointing you and telling you what to do.
No.
Right? It's very casual, so you can tell that, hey, this is a safe space, right? When you're listening.
Yeah.
So
you want it to be conversational. You want to invite the viewer in. They're listening to a business podcast. They're not, sorry, just bang my camera.
No problem.
They're not expecting it's not an interrogation. If they're watching, a journalist interview a politician who is, under investigation for something, well, that's there's some interrogation type qualities to an interview, generally speaking, along those lines.
But you're
That's not
expecting
what a
that.
podcast should
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
that's what you're
Yeah.
expecting. You're not, if it's something where it's like it's business, we're talking about, like in this case, the
Yeah.
stories of kerrybarrett.com, sorry, Inc. Sorry, and that's what it's
Yep. No, that's okay.
hearing it, right? That's what you want to hear.
Yeah, and I think, I mentioned this a little bit, touched on it anyway at the beginning of this conversation. There is, to some degree, a sense of distrust of the media. Some of it's good reasons, some of it's not, and I think that even shows like this one have a tendency, podcasts in general have a tendency to get lumped into that. They can anyway, into that expectation of this is going to be gotcha, or they're going to set me up and they're going to try and catch me on something, and that's not what a good business podcast is about.
No.
You're not bringing anybody in to your circle. You're definitely not going to bring in more people who want to be interviewed unless that's your shtick and they're into it. Yeah,
Yeah, or
the goal with a podcast is you want to create a trust and build that trust with longer form content, right?
yeah, I mean,
Quite different than TV, where generally your interview is anywhere from 3 to 6 minutes. We've got close to 60. It's great.
yeah, and also too, like, and especially at least if that's the show they're trying to. So if the guest knows that, hey, this is going to be a debate, not just a place for you to talk about your positions on things or just only
Yeah.
your products or services, but there may be some slight pushback because I might bring in another person from the other side who might not agree.
Yeah.
But at least you're going in knowing that, versus you think it's one thing and it turns out to be
Yeah.
something totally different. If you want to
Well,
quickly
and if you,
burn bridges, by all means, please do that, right? If you want to do that.
And as a podcast guest, you should always listen to 1 or 2 episodes before you even pitch yourself, so that if you're not familiar with the podcast ahead of time, and let's say it's showing up on a list for you somewhere and you're interested in pitching podcasts, listen to it just like you would watch a segment on TV if you were going to be, doing a segment there, or you would read an article in Forbes so that you get an idea of the structure. You should be listening to the podcast as well to make sure that there is a good vibe between you and the host. If your brands don't align, if the vibes don't align, if your audiences don't align, then there's oftentimes not a great deal of good that will come with it. So you should never be taken by surprise.
No, I'll tell you the story of the one guest that I was like, oh, I'll say that at the end of the episode. So actually, I won't even show it on the episode. I'll tell after we finish recording. But
okay.
Back to a couple of these questions here, because I don't want to jump to, I know it'll be conscious of time here. So, okay. Yeah. So how do you currently educate yourself on the current trends in your space? Do you use do you have market intelligence websites, or are there, boards of trade? How do you keep contract?
I'm constantly online. I'm on all of the PR platforms. I'm learning from, I have obviously a depth of experience from the media world. So I understand it absolutely from the journalist side, and understand it from the business owner side. And I'm understanding it from the newest element, which is the PR agencies side. I'm not a PR agency. I don't do done for you PR, but understanding the way that they approach journalists. Again, I've always understood it from the journalist side. So to answer your question, I'm constantly reading. I'm staying up with trends in that industry. I've got my Google keyword set for pings when there is a breaking news going on in the PR or communications world. And then I generally also stay up with what is going on in terms of stories that are in the PR world. Like, as of this recording, even though I'm not in crisis communications, there's a huge kerfuffle online having to do with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It has to do with a movie that they were all part of, and there's some contention between the cast members and the director. It's being handled now. Oh gosh, yeah. Justin Baldoni just filed a $300 million lawsuit against the New York Times.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keeping up with how are their teams, talking about it? How are they, to use a word that I hate to use, but how are they spinning it? How are they handling the fallout? Following those sorts of stories that are in the media help me understand as well how people are navigating difficulties in their publicity and their messaging. And those things apply not just to, crisis communications, but also they help me understand further messaging for my own clients and messaging for their clients in the way I can help them get in front of the right people.
Have you ever heard of that site called Ground News? You ever heard of that place?
Ground use?
No,
I don't think
Ground
I
News.
have.
News, News.
Oh, ground news.
Yeah.
No.
So what it is, and not to try to plug for them, but sometimes trying to investigate a story or just trying to understand a story, depending on which platform you go to, like you said, the spin is going to be on any side, right?
Yep.
What they tried to do is they'll put all the things together, and they said, okay,
Yeah.
here's what. So when you go to the Ground News website, I actually have a subscription with them. I'm just trying them out, where they said, okay,
Yeah.
so here's the story. Here is the left's view of the story, how they would describe it. Here is the right's view, and here is the centered view, right? Because to me, sometimes I just prefer, just give me the facts. I'm like straight. Give it to me centered.
Yeah.
I don't need spins from left to right. If I want to hear spins from left to right, I'll just go on YouTube, right? Because then there's plenty of sites on either side that can really spin it. But I just need to know the facts so I can make the decision for my own. So the funny thing is, it doesn't test my own bias. It just makes me want to just keep looking at the center. So it's like, okay, which ones are geared one? But then I don't know how accurate their algorithms can be. So that's another thing. But anyways, aside from that, last couple of questions, I promise on this one for the tips in the pro segment, because we still got to get to the rapid fire round now before your time is up here. So so when I'm starting as a coach here, should I be billing hourly or should I have a monthly rate?
Oh gosh. Okay. It depends a little bit on your business model and how you structure. I started billing hourly. Now I use retainer clients and I have them for my programs. I do occasionally do one-offs. If I have somebody who just wants a power hour or a VIP day, those are billed by the hour. But generally speaking, it's very hard. It's very easy to become a commodity when you bill by the hour.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to be a personal trainer back in the day as well. And, it was always a per session rate kind of thing. And, I always treated one of my clients is that, I treat it like it's not a course, but like whatever the length of the time frame we have, I just need to get you better than where you started. That's
where you started. Yep.
Because sometimes I find it challenging at that time. This is why I would do this for many, many years, where is that you're seeing the same client and I'm just like, all right, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Right. So you got to try to have a little bit of separation in there at the end and then maybe do a refresh every so often. But I just found, at least for me, that's what it works. And last question on the pro segment here. What is your best strategy for dealing with difficult clients?
Oh gosh. Well, I've had to fire a few. Generally speaking, for me, when I try not to do that. I do try and make sure that I am communicating. And in fact, I'm dealing with one as we speak. I'm dealing with one who is incredibly sticky on certain things they want to put in a program I'm putting together for them, and yet they won't review it. And so I have led with upfront communication. Sometimes that just doesn't work, and you can ask for a certain thing, till you're blue in the face. I need this thing from you to get this project done, and if I don't get it, we're going to be we're going to be set behind. At some point, I have realized though that there are certain clients who just take too much emotionally from me to be able to continue the project. And I will do everything in my power to finish the project with them, but I'll never sign up for working with them again. I have also, I had a number of clients when I first started working. I would do the work and then I would bill them. And I would have to chase down the invoice and chase down the invoice and chase down the invoice. Now all of my work is prepaid. If you want to work for this month with me or this 3 months, you pay for that upfront, and then I'll do the work with you.
Absolutely.
And if you,
no, it makes sense. I mean, that's always the challenging part, right? And that's why pre-screening is sometimes even good. It's really good because I think you don't want to be having to be dreading checking your email first thing Monday morning. Do you know what I mean?
No, 100%.
I don't want to see that particular email like. All right, I gotta do this. So, all right, let's do the rapid fire round. This is more the fun stuff that we can do as we wrap this up here. So, ready to go?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So, we just finished the holidays. What, in your opinion, what is the best and worst Christmas holiday movie?
Oh my gosh. One of my favorite movies is Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase.
Mhm.
And one, gosh, you know what? I really didn't like that just came out this year. Red One
Oh, The
with
Rock.
yes, and I love him.
Yeah.
He's great, but I did not like that movie. That's probably one of the biggest flops I've seen in Christmas.
It's funny how that one is. We saw it in theaters, and then a couple weeks later, they put it on to like Prime. We're like,
Yeah,
could have saved that monthly pass for something else. But either case,
yeah, yeah,
my,
yeah, yeah,
my favorite, the best movies, in my opinion, for me, Home Alone
yeah.
1 and 2.
Oh
The
yeah,
worst movies for
those are
me,
good ones.
Home Alone's 3, 4, and 5.
Oh, those are terrible. you know what? They're so bad. I've erased them from my memory. Scratch that. 3, 4, and 5. My answer is 3, 4, and 5.
You can't do a Home Alone movie without Macaulay
No.
Culkin, Joe
Yeah.
Pesci, and I'm sorry, I forgot the actor who plays Marv. You have to, whatever his name is,
I don't know him either.
Dan Smith.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Dan Smith, whatever his name is. But
Okay.
those
Yeah.
two were the best movies I saw. That
Yeah.
when you replace all of them, what do you expect? Just put it straight to DVD, or not even DVD.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a DVD anymore. Just put it on
Right.
the streaming
No.
platform. But all right,
Straight to stream. I changed my 3, 4, and 5. Worst. You're right. Boom.
excellent.
Done.
All right. Speaking of which, all right, what posters did you have on the wall when you were a teenager?
Oh my gosh, this is so lame. I rode horses when I was I had a horse when I was a kid, so I had like pictures of horses jumping over fences and in the pastures and everywhere else all over my
That-
all over my walls.
Funny thing about horses. So there's this. You remember that old? I don't know if you remember. Yeah, you probably remember. But back when Dick Clark would do like these, bloopers of TV shows and news stories, right? I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, world's funniest outtakes or bloopers or something. There was this one English reporter. He was on site, and he had trouble. Like he was in a field, and there's some horses running by, and I can't remember what the story was about, but he could not say horses. He kept saying horses. There's multiple.
I haven't seen that.
I can't find it anywhere on YouTube. I've been trying to find it because I used to joke with my family, my kids, my wife about horses. So we're driving, we see horse. Of course, we know it's called horses, but then
Right.
see someone that, and even my 12-year-old be looking. I'm like, oh, Daddy, look, horses. Right? I'm like, but I want to try to show them the original video of why I started saying horses as a joke. But anyways, aside from that,
I haven't seen that one.
but yeah,
I love it.
horses for you. WWE, now WWF back then, and hockey. Hockey posters were my room back when I was younger.
Of course, that makes sense. Yes.
All right. Now, speaking of the other gifts, then we have a couple things here. What is the best and worst gift you ever received? Doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be birthdays, anniversaries, Valentine's days.
Oh gosh, I guess probably one of the worst gifts I've ever gotten. This sounds so ungrateful. Like your socks and underwear. Especially as a kid. And one of my greatest gifts ever. Oh my gosh, you're asking me to go back so many years. You know what? It's probably my horse.
Oh, you got a horse?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah.
Unbelievable. I'll make this fast. I know we're still a little over time here, but I'll tell you, the best gift my wife ever got me was we just married just back in 2009, and we were playing tennis, of course, before children, where I wanted to play on the competitive tour, like the semi-amateur competitive tour for tennis, because I love playing it, and we were playing it. And I said, man, I really want a tennis racket, but I never told her what I wanted. She literally found the exact racket, make and model that I wanted. Because usually what we would do, Kerry, is that, and the funny thing is my wife's name is also Kerry. Hers is spelled Kary. But anyways, so what we would do is for Christmas, we'd put our gifts under the tree when it was just the two of us, and then I noticed that I had her gift, but I couldn't see him. I didn't see my gift. I'm like, oh, did I get a gift? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah. I just haven't wrapped it yet. Now, she actually got me a tennis racket. So I don't know how you kind of hide a tennis racket unless you're trying to tell me that you got me one snowshoe. That's the only thing I can think of, right? So when I opened it up, I was so surprised. I'm like, this is the exact, how did you know? And my wife is modest, of course. She's like, oh, that's the one you wanted? I just said, what's the best one for my husband? That's all she asked for. And they were,
are you serious?
I'm serious. That's exactly what she got.
Wow.
So that's a
great gift.
And the worst gift, which I would say it's not even a worse gift. It's a gift that we never got. So it was a gift that my aunt and uncle-in-law, I love them to death. my wife's sister and my brother-in-law, what they received as a wedding gift was this thing called, it was like a parrot wine holder.
Okay.
So it's literally a picture of a parrot, and you literally put a bottle of wine in it just to hold it, like a display thing, right?
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen similar.
Yeah. That's what they got us, right? And I was like, oh, okay. And we were helping them out in the
Lovely.
basement, and my aunt and uncle-in-law, and then I just saw this thing kind of like in a bag, and it was a monkey wine holder. And we were about to get married soon. I was thinking, oh man, they're gonna get us a monkey wine holder, right? So there we are. We get married. We're going through the gifts. We see their, the envelope with their name on it. We open it up. It was cash or a check or something.
Oh,
really? That's very generous. But you ever have that back in your mind where, you kind of don't want it, so you were kind of expecting it, and when you didn't get it, you're just like, huh.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had a few doozies like that too, actually, to be honest with you.
That was really
Listen,
fun.
if you have a word to the wise, if there's a registry, go to the registry. Just buy something on. The registry's there for a reason. They've already expressed the fact that they need it and they like it.
Yeah.
Save everybody the hassle and the heartache.
I
Just go to the registry.
The first time I got a registry, it wasn't even a registry, it was a wish list. I always took real offense to it. This is back in like 2005, right?
Okay.
And it wasn't for a wedding, and it wasn't for like a baby gift or anything like that. It was literally one of our friends that said, "Hey guys, in case you're going to get me anything, here's a list of all the things that," and it wasn't anything formalized. There's no website. It was an email. So my wife she sends me this email. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I took offense to it.
That's different.
It is.
Yeah, I would too, because that's not what it's about. But we all sort of come to expect registries for weddings and baby showers.
Yeah, that's what, baby showers. I couldn't come up with a name. All right.
Yeah. Don't get me wind chimes either. Like you'll never.
So for the listeners who are listening, so if you're going to get Kerry anything, please, monkey wine holder. That's all she's looking for. And get me wind chimes.
Say no socks, no underwear. No wind chimes. Monkey wine holder.
All right, last couple of questions, I promise here. All right, now I always ask this to all my guests here. So if you could have your own sandwich, what would be on it, and what would you call it?
Oh my gosh, I'd call it team. Oh my gosh, your questions are hard.
That's the hard hitting journalism here on the S.M.E Stories podcast.
This is gotcha journalism. You told me you weren't going to do this. I would call it the Barrett, and it probably would be, oh my gosh, I love vegetables. I'm not really much of like a meat eater person, so it'd probably have roasted peppers. There's probably already a sandwich out there like that. It definitely would have mozzarella on it. It might have some chicken. It definitely would have oil and vinegar and oregano, and it would have I don't know. This is a sandwich, I feel like, already. This is one that's in existence.
What bread?
I'm not coming up with anything new for you. But I'd call it the Barrett. Does that help?
What kind of bread, though?
Oh, it'd be, well, I don't know what you guys call them. Here in New Jersey, we call them hoagie rolls. Sometimes they're called heroes or subs, but they're like the long baguette type. Yeah.
Do you know who stresses out about every time I ask this question? Anytime I've had a chef on, they start to freak out because they go through, and of course I'll mess with them too sometimes. I'll say, okay, is cereal a soup? Yes or no? Because they'll say, oh no, because it's cold. But then they realize, oh, there are also cold soups. And they get into
they're gazpacho.
And yes, like gazpacho. I was thinking gazpacho. So then it takes their mind on a different maze that I didn't plan on them going through. So they're freaking out, which I'm like,
they start to spiral.
They start to spiral. Or some people, when I think I had a home renovator who did like an Airbnb, and I asked them, okay, toilet paper, face up or face down?
Oh, that's an easy answer. Everybody knows the right answer is face up.
Face up.
Wait, which is face up? Face up is where that comes on the outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. like the reverse mullet.
See, we're on the same page on that one. That's great. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. If any other way, you're just a psychopath. Okay, let's
I'll
just
tell Mrs. K
set
that.
the record straight.
Let her know that she's got to go for some counseling. That's what I'll tell Mrs. K to do that. Yeah, Kerry told me that this is wrong, right?
This is psychopathic behavior.
All right. Last question is, what is your theme song and why? So when you're walking down the street, that song hits. Everybody knows that Kerry's coming.
Yeah. The theme song from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Do you remember that show? It's about she's a newscaster from a long time ago.
But I don't remember the theme song. I remember Laverne and Shirley. I remember Happy Days.
There she comes.
Yeah.
Walking down the street. Yeah. That's Laverne and Shirley. Yeah.
No, Laverne and Shirley is oh my God. Do it our way.
Yeah, it is.
Our way. Making our
Oh my gosh, you're right. What was I singing?
Mary Tyler. Oh, you were singing.
No, what was I?
Would you say it again? Sing it again. You were saying.
Hold on. I'm putting here. She comes walking down the street.
That's the Monkees theme song.
Oh my gosh.
I used to watch the Monkees, right? So that's why, like, I tell everyone I'm not that old. Listeners, please. I'm only in my mid-40s here. But I remember the Monkees when they were on in like the late 90s. That's when they were showing.
Yeah, they were. But I think they like started a little bit earlier than that.
Oh yeah, they did way earlier. I think they did their recordings in like what, the 60s or 70s. But they started. So but back before they had MTV in the United States, in Canada it was called Much Music. And Much Music would always play these music videos, and sometimes they would play the Monkees, anything music related. And that's how I first heard of them. And I remember that theme song, I would listen to it. And I don't know if you know this really quickly, but do you remember the old Adam West Batman and Robin thing, back TV show?
I remember it, but I can't recall anything specific about it.
I'll tell you this. I did not know that was a comedy.
Okay.
I actually thought it was an action TV show.
Oh.
So looking at the costumes, looking at the punching, and you see the word bubbles that show up.
Yeah.
It didn't dawn on me that I'm like, that's supposed to be a comedy? You didn't know that. All right, so sorry. Back to the theme song. You said Mary Tyler Moore. Perfect. Last couple things here. So first off, what is there any final message you want to give to the listeners here for anyone who wants to start their business or currently running it?
Oh yeah. I would say grow at the speed of cash. There's a lot of nefarious characters that are out there. I was not expecting that. And do your research. If something seems like it's a red flag or it's too good to be true, it very, very likely is. But it starts with understanding who your audience is and what problem you can solve for them. You can create your own niche and all of that, but it has to do with, what you can do and who needs it. And until you understand that, and you won't have it all figured out, but until you understand the basics of that, don't move forward, because there's a real good chance you're going down the wrong path, and expect a lot of entrepreneurial trauma.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. So before we go, there's a couple of things. One last thing here. So Kerry's specialty, she used to work as a news anchor for multiple shows, and I know you can help people get ready. I want you to tell me honestly, can this person be a news anchor? I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and I need your honest feedback, so I can definitely let them know their honest feedback on this.
Hello, my name is Gabe, and I work for the news. Hello and welcome to the CIBC. Today there was an infection called the Sonic.exe NoVI. It kills people that are 17 and up. The military are trying to find the monster. Please stay inside your house, doors boarded and windows too. We will give you an update at 5 p.m.
You know what? He's better than I was when I first started.
And for those listeners and viewers, that was actually my son. That was him a few years ago, doing a makeshift news report.
Oh my gosh, it's so
But
cute. Yes, absolutely. He's got it in him. I
you
can
got
feel
it?
it.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So where can people reach out to you, and where can they find you?
Oh, the easiest thing to do is to find me on LinkedIn. You can find me just by searching my name, KerryBarrett, Kerry Barrett, and also on my website under the resources tab. There's a lot of free resources there, and you can schedule a free strategy call with me there as well.
All right, Kerry, thank you very much for being on the show. It's very much appreciate for having you on.
Thank you for having me. This was great. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed speaking with you.
Hey you, do you need a voiceover? Well, look no farther. Northway Capital Group has your answer. Commercials and explainer videos, AVR and voicemail, health and wellness, corporate training and e-learning, announcements, documentaries, and biography. Contact us on social media or email us at northwaycapitalgroup@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to the S.M.E Stories podcast, which is owned by Northway Capital Group. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Northway Capital Group.